Well, welcome everybody to Rev Up for Success Radio, our fast-paced and exciting show here every Thursday on our business channel. We are broadcast through Raven International Broadcast, the most positive network out there. And we broadcast all over the nation, all over the world, actually. We're in 49 countries. So it's pretty exciting. I just went past my three-year anniversary doing this show. And now we have this new platform where we get to also show our guests live. So we're excited about this, and thank you, Michael, for kicking off our year with this. We are excited to have you here. We have Michael Gerber here of the eMyth. He's our guest today, so welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here, Claudia.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about you, then I'm going to let you share from your perspective, okay? All right. All right, so his new book is just coming out, and so what we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. But everyone knows if you're in small business, you know Michael Gerber. I was just sharing with Michael when I was teaching high school, and I was teaching a small business entrepreneur class, and this was in the later 80s. I actually had his book as one of my resources for my students. So my students learned about Michael a long time ago, and so he saved me because I hadn't been a teacher, and so it was helpful to have you as my resource. He is a best-selling author he has 29 eMyth books. 29, wow. You must have
Sorry about that.
writer's cramp. And he's been in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Business Week, Inc. magazine, Fortune, Forbes, and on and on. And his books have been translated into 29 languages. And what I love is, because I'm an educator, is that they've been used as the entrepreneur textbook in over 118 universities.
Yes.
My hat's off to you. And we need to count one more because there was one high school that was using it too. The originator in 1977 of the small business coaching industry with his founding of the Michael Thomas Corporation, the eMyth Academy, and eMyth Worldwide, Michael Gerber Companies, Inc. And since that time, he has served over 100,000 small businesses. Amazing, Michael.
Well, thank you.
You are amazing. And I've got to meet you in person a couple of times, and just your energy and your enthusiasm and passion to help other people is so touching and admirable. And you've made your difference in the world, and that's what I'm about. Let's make a difference in the world today, and you definitely have. So let's talk a little bit about your new book coming. First, before I know we're going to be talking about it, but just so I don't forget, behind me, everybody, you'll see the revised version of his first book. And this actually is a special edition. I noticed in the front of it, Michael, it's $95. Anyway, I have a signed edition of that. I'm excited to have that in my library. And then the new book cover is gorgeous.
Well, thank you.
It's just gorgeous.
You should congratulate my lovely wife and the CEO of our company, Luz Delia, for that design. She created a lovely book.
And you know what? I can see her energy in it. Because Luz Delia has a lot of energy and positive vibes going on. And so I can see that there. And the colors show growth and prosperity. So
Thank you. I'll tell her you said so.
Yeah. Well, so as we move on, let's go into some questions. But first of all, do you want to tell a little bit about your story, how you kind of got started, or how you started?
Well, I've been writing about how I got started for years, and if they don't know me by now, we're in serious trouble. I got started, as everybody gets started. I just did stuff. And then one day a guy said to me, Michael, would you come visit one of my clients? And the guy who asked me that owned a small advertising agency in Silicon Valley. And I said, sure, why not? Now, you got to understand, this is before I ever thought about being an entrepreneur, being in small business, about being who I am. I was just a wandering Jew. I was just a guy on my way someplace doing all the things you do as you learn who you are, who you're not, what the world's like, what it isn't like, and so forth and so on. You might say a spiritual search. I was on my way. And so he asked me to do this, and I had no reason to say no. So I went to visit this gentleman who owned a small high-tech company in Silicon Valley who was having difficulty converting the leads that were being created for him by this ad agency into sales. So my buddy says, look, guys, talk to each other. I'll be back in an hour to pick Michael up. And he takes off. And there I am with this guy. And the guy's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And neither of us really had a clue. I mean, just not a clue. I was the other guy's buddy, and he was the other guy's client, and here we are. So somehow, I'm going to perform a miracle. I'm supposed to help this guy solve a sales problem. So the only thing I could do is begin to ask him questions. Now, you got to understand, I started the conversation with two assumptions. First of all, I didn't know anything about business because I knew I didn't. And second, I assumed he did because he owned one. Now, get this, I'm on my way to a completely different life. I'm on my way from Southern California to Mendocino County, where I'm going to become a framing contractor. Get this. And here I am sitting with this guy having a conversation about something of completely no interest to me. And we started. And as we started talking, and essentially me asking him questions, because if anything is true about me, I was curious. So what's your problem? So what do you do? So why do you do it? So how do you do it? So how did you get here? And all that and all that and all that. And as he's beginning to answer my questions, I'm beginning to understand something that I didn't walk into that meeting with. And that was, I do know something about business. I know selling is a system. And I knew that because I'd learned how to sell encyclopedias. Now, how outrageous is this? You understand, I'm now purportedly a business expert talking to a guy who owns a high-tech company, and I couldn't even spell high-tech, let alone talk high-tech. And I'm sitting here and listening to the guy talk, and it suddenly came to me. I know something I didn't realize was important in this conversation. And as we began the conversation, I suddenly realized that while I knew selling was a system, he didn't. And that was his problem. And I told him so. I told him, you don't need sales engineers to sell this thing. You could use kids to sell this thing. But they wouldn't be any more successful than your sales engineers are without a selling system. You don't have a selling system, Bob, I said to the guy. And he said, what's that? So I proceeded to tell him what a selling system is. And he said, can you do that for me? I said, sure. But of course, that's just my natural born enthusiasm. But of course I can do that for you. So he said, okay, do it. So my buddy comes to pick me up and he said, so what happened? I said, I got a job. He said, what are you talking about, a job? You don't know anything about his business. I said, no, that's what I told you. But obviously, I do. And that was the beginning of all this. He was my first client. And as I began to go to work on his business, as I've written about over the years, rather than in his business, inventing a selling system for his business, I began to realize he didn't have any systems in his business. He didn't have a financial management system. He didn't have a people development system. He didn't have an operational management system. He didn't think systemically, despite the fact that he owns a high-tech company. And I thought, isn't that outrageous? I couldn't even imagine that would be true. So I'm walking into this strange world of business, very strange to me. And I'm discovering things that are revealing themselves to me that in fact had not revealed themselves to the guys I'm talking to. So Bob was my first client, and then a second, then a third, then a fifth, then a ninth. And gradually I'm teaching my buddy who owns the ad agency that he doesn't know anything about business either.
He needs a
and that's when I left to create my own company.
Wow.
Ironically, Claudia, the guy he brought in to replace me came with me to start my company.
Wow.
He learned what I was doing and what I intended to do, and he was blown away by it. And that was the inauguration of all of this. And it was back in 1977, that's how long ago this was, with the founding of the Michael Thomas Corporation. And what most people don't know, the Michael Thomas Corporation, which no longer exists, became Gerber Business Development Corporation, became the eMyth Academy, became eMyth Worldwide, and is now Michael E. Gerber Companies. So the evolution of my experience and my business experience led us to where we are right now. But that company was the very first small business coaching company in the world.
Wow, the very first.
The very first small business coaching company in the world. We set the pattern for what today is an $11 billion industry.
Well, I'm glad because I am a small business coach, so I'm glad I have some of your tools to work with.
There you are. Isn't it wonderful?
I know, so you inspired me. Well, let me ask you a couple questions here so that we can, because I know you've got some amazing work going on even right now that we want to make sure our audience hears about. So you're known for teaching entrepreneurs, and you just mentioned this, but I want to go back. Let's hit it again.
Yes.
Working on their business as opposed to working in their business. And what's the difference?
Well, the difference is what Ray Kroc did at McDonald's. Ray Kroc didn't create McDonald's. Ray Kroc found McDonald's. The McDonald brothers created McDonald's, and they created this extraordinary little hamburger stand. Ray Kroc had sold them multi-mixer malted milk machines. And he was astonished they'd actually purchased 9 of them. And he's thinking, what in the world would anybody have use for 9 multi-mixer milk mixing malted milk machines?
Yeah.
Even saying it is impossible. Like buying 9 of them.
Yeah, really.
And he went and he saw it. He was blown away. And he asked them whether or not they had franchised. And they said no. They were very happy where they were. And he convinced them to give him the franchise rights to McDonald's. He went back to Des Plaines, Illinois. And this is where the answer to your question comes. But Ray Kroc didn't go to work in the hamburger stand. He didn't go to work making hamburgers, didn't go to work doing it, like we're doing right now. Didn't do that. He went to work on the hamburger stand to perfect the system to get it ready to franchise. So he created his franchise prototype. As I began to work with all those clients in those early years, it was that I discovered. None of them had invented a system for doing what they do. They simply went to work doing it. And that was the creation of the eMyth, which is the entrepreneurial myth, that in fact the vast majority of companies out here in the world failing. And if they don't outright fail, they simply fail to truly grow. They're a job for the owner. Well, Ray Kroc's company wasn't a job for Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc's company was a product for sale. He organized the product called McDonald's, the business, so that he could faithfully replicate it in the hands of licensees around the world. I'm saying that simple truth makes the difference between huge success and doing it. And so everybody listening to us right now has to understand that when you shift your point of view from being the chief technician, the chief cook and bottle washer, the chief coach, the chief graphic designer, the chief whatever it is you're selling, when you make a break from being that person, what I call the technician suffering from an entrepreneurial seizure, and awaken the true entrepreneur within, everything changes. Everything. And it changes so dramatically as to be like in a completely different world.
Well, and that would kind of solve the problem of burnout.
Well, absolutely. Well, it doesn't solve all the problems of burnout, because you can burn out as an entrepreneur just as much as you can burn out as a technician doing it. The difference, though, is working on your life as you're working on your business. Or transform your relationship with both.
Ah, wow.
That's the key. I say that to you at 80. So I'm now 80 years of age, starting a new enterprise. Thank you. And I'm simply saying it's true for anyone and everyone who does it. It's breakthrough. It's monumental. It's huge.
Wow, it is, and it's powerful, and it's getting that little mind shift, right? Getting the mind
Absolutely.
Shift. Yeah. Okay, so what inspired you to the dreaming room? We've got to hear more about the dreaming room and what inspired it.
Well, the dreaming room really is the space that we created. I created it in 2005, and I created it out of frustration. That of the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of clients we've worked with and delivered the eMyth to, only some of them actually get it. Now, understand when I say they get it, it works. So their business works better, the systems work better, they work better, but they're absolutely resistant to grow. So instead of using it to expand their reach, as Ray Kroc did, starting out at 52 years of age, imagine, expanding your reach to create a second one and a third one and a fifth one, et cetera, and so forth. All they do is to take more time off. So I'm working with people who used what I've created to take time off. And I'm saying, that doesn't make sense to me. To do what? Well, essentially to screw around. I mean, from my point of view, here's an opportunity now to expand your reach, to grow exponentially and have a profound impact upon many, many, many people. And instead, you choose to live small. I'm saying it's time to live big.
Yes.
And that's why I created the Dreaming Room. The Dreaming Room's purpose then and now is to awaken the new entrepreneur within. And that means that to focus our attention in the Dreaming Room on one person, and that's the entrepreneur. And the entrepreneur is four people: the dreamer, the thinker, the storyteller, and the leader. My job in the Dreaming Room, 2.5 days intensive experience, is to awaken the dreamer, the thinker, the storyteller, the leader, to discover a dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission for the company you own and are about to recreate. And what happens in the Dreaming Room is just astonishing, because it provides that missing piece. It gins up, if you will, the passion that an individual now can have for reaching out to something they were fearful about reaching out for before. I'm not interested in simply nurturing their comfort zone. I'm interested in getting them out of it. And once I can get somebody out of their comfort zone, they're willing to dare to go beyond it. And that's what our country needs.
Mm.
We need millions upon millions upon millions of people who dare to go beyond their comfort zone. And I know that is possible because I've been doing it for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying to every single person who's listening to us, your comfort zone is the place that deprives you of experiencing yourself in the fullest, most unimaginable way possible. And it lives inside of you, not me. You understand? I can't make you do that. I can only help you discover the part of you who will absolutely, most certainly do that. That's what's so great about it.
Well, reading about some of the people that have been part of your dreaming room over the years, they seem so passionate about it and the outcomes and the results. So obviously it works, it works, it works, it works.
It does. And the new dreaming room, in fact, we're doing one on March 3rd, 4th, and 5th in San Diego.
Let's talk about that. Let's tell people right now how they can engage in that.
Absolutely. March 3rd, 4th, and 5th in San Diego. All you got to do is go to www.beyendeMyth.com/dreaming. That's beyendeMyth.com/dreaming, and you'll find out all about it. But join me in that dreaming room. I'm leading it. And what it will do is to take you to the next step, which is beyond the eMyth, the evolution of an enterprise, from a company of one to a company of 1,000, because we've created the method now that when somebody leaves the dreaming room, we can now walk them through the process of evolution of a company of one to a company of 1,000. And the good news is everybody can do it.
Because you've seen the outcomes and the results. It's tested.
You got it. Yeah, well, years and years and years. So now it's for you.
That's exciting. And just reading through some of that in the little test that I got, or not, you know, the little preview I got to have of the new book coming. I know you guys just gave me some sneak peeks, and that was very generous. I appreciated it. But just watching and reading about it, I got really excited myself to be there. I want to be there because it really.
You gotta do it, Claudia.
and look, I'm not far behind you. You know, I'm just about 5-6 years behind you. So, you know, we're making it happen still. And that's what I want to inspire people too. You're never too old to not be part of this dreaming room, right?
Yes.
Age has nothing to do with it. Too young, too old, nothing.
Nothing to do with it. Age has nothing to do with anything.
Absolutely, you are right. So let me ask you now. Well, let's talk about participants for the first time. Who would be part of this event? Let's talk about who should be paying attention to be part of that event.
Well, anybody who's just unsatisfied with where they are, meaning anybody who's stuck in a business that isn't going anywhere, anybody who's stuck in a relationship that isn't going anywhere, anybody who's stuck in a job that isn't going anywhere, anybody who is stimulated or inspired by the idea of going to work on your life, not just in your life, by creating a new life, doing something you never imagined you could do before. I'm suggesting that the inspiration for everything that's needed lives within you. All that has to happen is you have to be in an incubator in which that inspiration is awakened and inspired. That's what we do. 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 And we do it for anybody and everybody who says he's talking about me.
Mm-hmm.
And you know if I'm talking about you. I mean, just like you said, Claudia, it just rings a bell for you. You know if I'm talking to you. Well, I'm talking to you. So all you got to do is go to www.beyendeMyth.com/dreaming, sign up. And if it's too expensive for you, argue with me. Just sign up. That's all I'm saying. I want to have no fewer than 50 people in that room with me on March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So I can engage with you to do what you're absolutely ready to do, but haven't come to discover yet. I want to help you discover it.
And what a great setting, too. San Diego's a beautiful place to be in March, and the weather's beautiful. It's a great setting and environment for us to be in an incubator, right?
You got it.
I love it. And, you know, maybe you're a college graduate. You're just getting out of college, or you've just gotten out, and what do I do next? Why not start off powerfully right now? Let's not wait.
Perfect.
Yeah, don't have to come back and circle back around. You can do it right from the start.
And folks have said to me, can I bring my kids? I've got a son who's 26. I've got a daughter who's 29. And they're not clear about where they're going. And he's got a little business, but it's not really working. And she's got a job and she really hates it. Is the dreaming room meant for them? I said, absolutely, yes. Because what we're attempting to do is to inspire the inner core of every single one of us. We're born to create. We're born, but nobody's taught us how. That's what I want to do with you. That's what I've learned how to do with the over 100,000 clients we've served over the past 40 years.
Well, and I'm even thinking of somebody that's coming up to retirement. And let me tell you, you don't want to retire and sit down. You start something new, and this is perfect for you to be inspired to figure out what that next step is for you.
Yeah.
Possibly you've been in a corporate job forever and you're just ready for a change. So glad to be away from that corporate environment and want something new. These are the kind of places to go and grow personally. This is professional and personal growth. So.
I can't imagine being inspired to go and be retired. I can't imagine that.
Sounds tired.
I cannot imagine why anyone would want to do that. So I think inspire to go higher. And that means to go in a completely new place than you've ever been before. And you get to do that. So people who are retiring at 65, 60, they're kids. I'm 80. And I'm talking to you and I'm saying, and you want to retire?
I know.
What in the world possessed you? Who told you that was a good thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
That's true. Oh, I so agree with you. So let's just kind of give people some tools today. So what are some of the biggest challenges startup entrepreneurs face today?
Well, the biggest challenge they believe is lack of capital. In fact, that's the least important or significant challenge. The biggest challenge they actually have is they haven't a clue what they're setting out to do. What they're actually setting out to do, 99.9% of all cases, is to create a job for themselves. So the vast majority of people who are thought to be small business owners are actually self-employed. And so they are working in their job, self-employed, doing what they know how to do, whatever it might be. They may be a coach, they may be a trainer, they might be a graphic designer, they may be a poodle clipper, they could be whatever. But they think it's a business, it isn't. So I want to take them from the job to the practice, to the business, to the enterprise. That's what I mean about a company of one. A company of one is simply a company that depends upon you to survive. You follow me?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it depends upon you to survive. If you don't show up, you're out of business. Well, that's a dumb idea.
This is true.
I mean, it's a dumb idea because there are days when you can't show up.
Or don't want to.
You got it. There are days when I don't want to show up, but still it's got to show up. What's it? The company I'm creating has got to show up. So Ray Kroc could at 82 know that 37,000 stores were showing up on time every morning throughout the world.
Exactly.
All because he went to work on McDonald's, not in McDonald's. He never had an office in the hamburger stand. His office was down the street, and it was called McDonald's Corporation. You got it. Every single one of you got to hear that. You've got to hear that, and you can't understand it completely, but when you come to the dreaming room, you'll really understand it. And then it'll be already too late, because you'll have started working on your life, not just in it, to discover your dream, your vision, your purpose, and your mission. And those are 4 absolutely fundamental requirements for any new company.
Well, real quick, can you give us a memorable story, a success story of somebody that's gone through the dream room, just so people can see the impact of it?
Oh, absolutely. There's one that always comes to mind, because not because it is the only one, but because they're very close to me. And that's Infusionsoft in Arizona.
I love them, yes.
Infusionsoft's founders and executives came to the dreaming room about 6.5 years ago. And they came because they were absolutely confused. They had a software company. It had grown some. It was profitable. It was fun. It was exciting. But there was no further to it, meaning they didn't know where it was going to go. In the dreaming room, they discovered it. Literally discovered it. They discovered the dream, the vision, the purpose, and the mission of the company they called Infusionsoft, which they thought of as a software company, which in fact they realized wasn't a software company at all, even though it's built on software. They went back to their company, and the outcome of what they did is where they are today. So 6.5 years later, 6.5 years after the very small company Infusionsoft, with a handful of clients, with a handful of employees, with a handful of contractors, today has about 1,000 employees, hundreds of contractors throughout the world, over 35,000 small business clients, producing about $100 million in annual revenue, on its way in the next 5 years to become a $1 billion company. That's what happens in the dreaming room.
And you figure that's all come out of about 6.5 years. This is what's
6.5 years, from nothing to everything.
Yeah, and they've been showing up strong for the last couple of years. So basically, their success was showing up quickly. That's what I love about it, for sure.
Yep.
Well, let's just remind everybody again about the dreaming room opportunity for them, and any other way that they can connect with you, Michael. Let's go back and give them that address again.
You got it. All you've got to do to register for the dreaming room is go to www.beyendeMyth, one word, beyendeMyth.com/dreaming. You'll go to the landing page. I'll tell you more information about it. I'll give you a place to register, and you'll also have a place to ask questions, should you have questions. And if you come to the point where you say, I just can't afford it, just drop that, would you please? Because it's the cost of a minimum wage kid. Of course you can afford it. Everybody can afford it. But only if you understand the price you're paying for not doing it. And the price you're paying for not doing it is everything. Had Clayton and his guys not come to the dreaming room, I will absolutely promise you they would have ended up as a small company, perhaps enjoying what they were doing, but never have touched the tens of thousands of people they've touched on the planet. You get to do that too. This is not just for you. This is for them. It's for everyone. We're going to go to work on our economy, not in our economy, to transform our economy from the grassroots up. That's our mission.
Wow. So powerful. Michael, thank you for being here today. The time went so fast.
Thank you, Claudia.
Everybody, you'll be able to also find him on my website, www.claudiacooley.com, and we'll have this all there for you if you / radio-show. So you will find him there too. I'm so excited. You will be following this broadcast, and we're thanking you for being here today. All of you that are business-minded or life-minded, working on your life and your business at the same time, because I'm all about living your life in balance. That's success synergy. So thank you, Michael, for supporting that. And I always like to end with follow your vision, then your path will appear. Just like Michael's. He stepped out going north to become a contractor. He stepped into something opened up to him, and look where you are today. So everybody, it's possible for every one of you, all of us. So thank you for being here today, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thanks, Michael.